giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
We need your help to keep fun loud, live, and independent. For just $1, you can be our boss at patreon.com/funfrc. Pledge your support in September and you'll be eligible to win a Cooler Master MS-120 keyboard and mouse set.
I want to take us over to 2014. This is Aerial Assist. We're going to be watching a match from the Indiana Robotics Invitational, one of my primo events of the year. I love IRI. I think it's such a great community. It's such a special thing. We're going to be talking about one of the semifinal matches where I think there was just such an amazing alliance on the Red Alliance. But first, a little bit of history. What was 2014? What was Aerial Assist? This is one of the more unique games in FRC. Some people love it. Some people hate it. It really forced teams to play a very different game. And on the surface, it's very simple. You're trying to take these big old balls and put them in the goal. You move them across, you get them introduced in the field on one end by a human player. A robot can take them, drive down the field, and score it in the goal for 10 points or so. They can put it in the low goal for, I don't remember how many, like 1 point or something, Karthik? 1 point? 1 point.
Yeah, 1 point.
So that's at its simplest, the way it worked. And then there was these extra little bonuses. Basically, you got to power up your ball the more times one of your partners touched the ball. I'm trying to find a good way to explain it because it's really confusing. Each partner had to touch or maintain possession of the ball in an independent zone. So one robot touched it in third of the field. A different partner had to touch it in the second third of the field, and then a third partner had to touch it or maintain control of it in the third end of the field. Whenever you did that, you added 10 points to the value of that ball, in addition to the point you get for either scoring it in the low goal or the 10 points you got for scoring in the high goal. Plus, there was another chance to get some bonus points added in by sending that ball over the truss in the middle of the field. All right, got it? A little bit confusing, but just think of it like this. The teams who were successful that year, and what the strategy came down to, is that every robot on the alliance would take possession of that ball at some point during the ball cycle from being introduced on one side and scored on the other. Okay? Everyone had to touch the ball. That's the big part of this. And then the teams who were very successful figured out how to truss it by sending it over the truss that was in the center of the field. No end game. Autonomous, very similar. You're just trying to score the balls in autonomous. And what was really powerful is that teams learned how to score multiple balls during autonomous mode. Just like Karthik showed in 2011, where people were trying to score multiple tubes. Same situation here. This has been common in a couple of different FRC games where people try to do these massive bonus autonomous modes. That kind of sums up what the game was. IRI simplified it a little bit. They said you didn't have to maintain possession in the different zones. So that made it a little bit easier for teams, and made it a lot easier on the refs. This is a very difficult game on the refs to identify when balls got this power-up mode by someone else possessing it and making that call of what actually is a possession in this game. At the end of championships, people kind of really streamlined this concept called the bounce back, where you basically had some kind of trampoline-esque system inside your robot where a human player threw it at a robot. The robot momentarily had possession, and because they changed the trajectory of the ball, they got credit for possession, and it was bounced right back to the human player. And these alliances at this semifinal tournament really took advantage of the bounce back technique. So we did have a replay here. So Tyler, we're gonna play the first match that we get Foghorn on. Is that right?
Hey,
all right.
Mason, are there 4 blue balls on the field?
Oh, that's right. So in regular tournament play, there were only 3 balls, but IRI, trying to make it more interesting, added the option for alliances to have a 4th bonus ball in autonomous mode. So by taking 4 balls, you had the potential of scoring more points. However, you couldn't start your first cycle until you cleared all of your autonomous balls off of the field.
That could be a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you missed your balls in autonomous, you would have to chase down those extra balls, which would really delay scoring the major points, because so many points came from doing these cycles where you got the power-ups on the balls. Oh, by the way, one more concept that was really important in this game was blocking during autonomous mode. I forgot that in this system, or in the rules of this game, the autonomous mode was actually called a hybrid mode. In the users could add inputs by what was it, flagging. They had like a connect or something on the driver station, and drivers could basically send commands to their robots using visual things as long as they weren't touching any controls.
So it was a little bit more complicated than that, because weren't supposed to be able to send commands, but teams realized that you could. So 254 realized that they could send very basic commands. So they had the ability of just using a signal to tell their robot to go at the left goal or the right goal in auto. And then other teams, 11-14 included, we realized, well, if you can send commands like that, like you obviously can't touch your controls, but what if we hook up a Connect? And so we had full control of our robot and autonomous, where we could drive it and make it do whatever it wanted. And that first changed the rules very quickly after that for the next season, because essentially autonomous mode became extended teleop.
Yeah, it was epic. You were supposed to use the goals lit up, and that would tell you which goal, and it was random which side was activated at the beginning of autonomous. And the buzzers or the light ups didn't quite work great, or the timing was a little off. So, as a gimme, I think they allowed the Connect controls, or whatever you want to call it. But I really loved it because it had so much excitement during autonomous. So we're going to start this first match, and we're going to watch the first one. We're going to do autonomous twice here. So first time, everybody watch the left side of the field. We're going to watch blue go for their shots. And what you'll see is that 469 is over there, and they're doing this control mode. 16 makes their first shot, and then 469 is able to block that second shot. So let's rewind now and rewatch that autonomous mode. Now on the right side, this is the one that we're going to get foghorn, but I wanted to set the stage here. What's so impressive on the Red Alliance is that both 2056 and 1625 both get 2 balls on their own. So all 4 balls get scored on the Red Alliance. On the Blue Alliance, 3 out of 4 balls get scored. This match starts off, and right away, 2056 utilizing that bounce back, and then the ball getting to 1625. And 1625 is going to try to trust this ball. And as they do, they're kind of getting pushed by 16, which causes the ball to land on top of the FMS, killing all of the robots on the field right there. Obviously, that kind of frees up this match. So that's a foghorn right there. So you can see 16 trying to play defense on Winnovation there, and just getting the tail end push that kind of shot them off course. And I don't think there was anything malicious in that move, but it did cause a reset here on the field.
I love the look of the human player's face right here after the match ends, but the kid's so into it still.
He's like ready to make the pass, and he's like, "What? What? Are we still playing? I got it! All right. Wait, what?" Yeah, he's disappointed for sure. Okay, so we're gonna go for it now. It takes about 8 minutes for these guys to reset the field, so we don't have to watch all 8 minutes of that. And largely, autonomous mode works out the same, except for this time 118 misses their ball in autonomous. They've been doing that shot all weekend. It doesn't work on this one, and 469 blocks 16's first shot right there on the left side of the field, and then 16 ends up making their second one. So now we've got 2 balls made on the Blue Alliance and 3 made on the Red Alliance, or 4 made on the Red Alliance. So we're going to take this step by step, and I want to really highlight these first bounce back passes that happen. So we're going to take it.
Before you do that, Mason, I talk about these bounce back passes.
Yeah, dude, of course.
This killed me because this was not the rule at the start of the season. The rule was teams had to have possession of the ball, and it actually they had to do something with it. And it's kind of like the catch rule in the NFL, where it just went crazy. And there was some head referee at championship who got tricked basically into allowing teams to just having a ball contact a robot be considered possession. And so teams were was that your field, PJ?
No, I said that wasn't my field.
Okay.
Well, so how that nonsense.
So a team's contribution could solely be that you just would bounce a ball off of them. And it was so weird. And what's crazy about IRI is you get these super stacked alliances that 2056, traditionally one of the best teams in the world, their role on this alliance is simply that of an elastic. in that balls are being bounced off of them, and then they play defense. They are the inbounder, and before the inbounder was like an important job because you had to catch that ball and then pass it. But with this whole rule, you bounce it off of one team, and then your human player catches it back and then loads it into another team. It was so weird. And it's also so weird seeing 2056 essentially be an elastic band.
And that's why part of this game got so crazy, because even whenever teams weren't using bounce back, you had really great teams playing defense, which is kind of turning the theme of the day, where teams who normally are offensive powerhouses like 973 and 2011, they end up playing defense for a whole match, and they can utterly destroy and change the outcome of the game. Well, 2014 was like that all season long, because only one robot could be playing offense at a time on an alliance, so the other ones would end up getting to play defense for the rest of the match.
Yeah, and JT brings up a good point in chat. Like, it was technically, you didn't just have to bounce it off the robot had to deform in some way. And so again, that's why teams put a run of surgical tubing on that you would hit, and then that would deform. So
yeah, trampolines, right?
Like, yeah, exactly, trampolines.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was a very slow evolution. It used to be like teams would catch it and they would use their rollers to shoot it back out or something, which was a little bit more acceptable. But yeah, it got crazy. It got real crazy by the time IRI came around. So let's go back to this match. Let's see what happens here. So we're going to start this one, and we're gonna right away see on the Blue Alliance Hot do a bounce back, in the first 10 seconds of this match. Hot being team 67 up in your top right corner here. They're lining up. Human player is going to bounce back that one in. Here it comes. In the robot, out of the robot, back in. Well, that was an okay bounce back, but if you're going to do it right, watch the Red Alliance here, okay? Watch 2056 here in just a few seconds. They're under defense, and they're going to get a sick bounce pass. So there's the human player, red ball in hand. Watch blue. Cameraman, take us over. And here comes, boom. Did you guys see that? Bounce back. Look at that. 1625 under defense. The ball goes into 2056 and then right into 1625. 16 crab drive, can't even catch up to start playing defense on 1625. I love their drive training in this match. They got 2+2, 2 omnis, 2 traction wheels. Now that ball goes right into 469, who's already ready to score it. Okay, we're gonna pause it here, right? Rewind a few seconds for me, Tyler. So we just watched that Red Alliance do a killer fast routine there. And that's what I loved about this alliance, is that 2056 would just touch the ball instantaneously. 1625 would catch it so well and be able to roll out away from the defense and do a perfect trust shot almost every time. And then 469 would be locked in the corner, so they didn't even have to move. The human player would just throw the ball into 469 and then they would just score it from wherever they were. So we're going to watch this happen right here. We're just going to hit play, watch the Red Alliance, watch how fast this ball moves, and even the Blue Alliance knows they got to try to block 469 from getting to take that free shot, and so they're going to try to play defense on them before they even get the ball, and it's not even going to matter in this match. And then, so let's watch about 15 seconds here. So we got bounce back 2056, ball into Winnovation. Winnovation goes for their trust shot, and pretty trust shot right to the human player, and then right into 469, who's getting defense on them. They just roll out and they just score. Classic 469, having their star move, and then they get off their game, and then they can still just go and execute dominance right there.
The other crazy thing about this game was the human players, because the human players they weren't just loading. Like, you were able to pass balls to the human players, so like they were strategically important, where the human players were doing the cool stuff of catching balls that I think that I would have rather seen the robots been doing. And so also, like, whenever you talk about safety in FRC games, like people get, oh, human players can't touch this, they can't put their hands to this. These balls were massive, and you were allowed to fire them full speed at a human player's head. And it was
I know a kid who got a concussion.
What?
Yeah, like she was knocked out, like got a concussion. Right.
It was crazy that like they get so uptight now about like a finger like possibly entering a slot where there's nothing possibly around, or like there's like crazy safety inspectors who are making sure you have safety glasses on when you're like in the bathroom or something. But I like, you could literally launch massive balls at full speed. Like these were 30 inches. And it was like, yeah, it's fine. Like the amount of FMS tables that got destroyed by these things, because again, the strategy was to shoot outside the field. That was your strategy. So you weren't even trying to keep it inside the field. So forget about the human players. Anyone around was in the line of fire. So it's it's so weird how some years they're super uptight about safety, and other years they're just like, eh.
So yeah, I took whatever they called it. I took one of those to the face while reffing 2014. So that was fun. I had to sit out a match.
So I kind of like the human interaction. I thought it was a fun element of it. I'm glad we don't do it every year like this, but definitely made for some unique things. But I do want to rewind the clock a little bit here. Go back to 90 seconds for me, and we can watch another T-bone happen here. And we're going to see 1625 Wind Ovation play D on 67 here, right there. That's a T-bone right there that forces 67 to take a very bad shot, not making it over the truss, going into the crowd probably. And what's so cool about this is 1625 has Omni wheels up front. So what that allows is like a shopping cart. They just keep driving forward and they just stay glued onto 67 there. And then once again, the Red Alliance showing off this strategic play here. If we go forward a little bit, we see 2056 do the bounce back, then immediately roll off and play D on 16. So we already kind of talked about this once tonight of how do you stop a defender? Well, you play D on the defender, and that's what 2056 does quite often here, and especially in this one or in this cycle, which is great that they can roll off, do their job, roll off, and get right back to defense. And already that ball again is in 469's hands. The camera work on this one really focuses on the Red Alliance, but we can see here the scores stay pretty tight throughout. The Red Alliance executing a little bit higher, but the Blue Alliance staying, cycle for cycle right on the tails. Being down in autonomous didn't help, but they're doing pretty well to keep up here. But what we're going to see in just a few seconds into the match is some chaos gets introduced with it, with Red making a poor couple of mistakes here, and the Blue Alliance making an even worse one. So let's go ahead and play through till about 30 seconds or so. We're going to see, Bomb Squad score one, then Red Alliance, Bomb Squad missing one there. Then it goes to Hot. Red Alliance trying to get back in, but there's so many robots around here that it starts to slow down their cycle. And what we see over here on Blue Alliance is they just scored, so they're trying to start a new cycle. The ball gets thrown at 118 here, and ends up bouncing off of them right there, and that gets their first possession of the game. Now, it happened so fast that the Alliance really wasn't expecting that one to happen. And right there on that move where the Blue human players throwing the ball in, they clip that red ball as it's launching out of 469, causing 469 to miss. That's a tech foul in this game. So I believe that was a 50-point penalty right there. And that's going to ultimately be one of the big drivers to set the victory here. So mistake on the human player. But the Blue Alliance doesn't recover well from this here. 118 knows they got their possession. They're out of there. So it's Hotbot's turn to get over there. But Hot's a little confused as to what's going on. So when they finally make it over there, they think they're just doing a bounce pass too, being the first man in the chain, when they were supposed to be the second man in the chain and be the passer here. So if we hit play, we can watch a little bit of the mess that happens here. Hot realizes at some point here that it's their turn to go get the ball. They get over there, they grab it, and then they fire it right back to the human player. And the human player is like, wait, what? Guys? So they wait for Hot to come again. At this point, 16's showing up. So the whole Blue Alliance is thrown off their game. Meanwhile, Red really trying to get this score in. And as we come to the final seconds, both alliances end up making a buzzer beater score right here. At almost the exact same time, both alliances throw it up and put it in. Red Alliance, though, was one cycle ahead, plus the big tech foul, and they end up taking a big win and moving on to the finals for one of the most uneventful finals ever at IRI that I remember.
Yes.
Where we just had some entanglement issues, and it was going to be this great face-off between 1114 and 254. 254 was world champion that year, going up against 2056 and 469. 469 was world champion that year, and it was such a letdown.
Yes. I mean, the 2014 game, like I have such mixed feelings about it because, like, one, I loved it because it was a nice spectator game because you're not trying to focus on so many different areas. Like, there's just like one ball for each alliance as the matches get going, and so that part of it was cool, and I thought it was really visual, and I liked that defense was really effective, but just I think the way the game was called in the regional season, the way the game was called at championship was very different because in the regional season, like everything was a tech foul and it was like very messy. And so there was just a lot of penalties, which kind of took away from the game. But I do think at championship, things were better. And then IRI instituted like some rules changes. They added a lot of freedom on what it took to be considered in a zone. And that really opened the game up. But this game had a lot of cool stuff to it. But like, I mean, if you like defense, this was the game for you. If you didn't like defense, because again, with there only being one ball, there were 4 robots who actively had nothing to do at any given point in the match, and so they were playing D and they were hammering on teams. And some of the cool strategy was like the team who would just score, and as soon as they score, they right away to go play defense, and that stuff was cool. But yeah, it was a different game, but I think it was a good game to do like once every like few years, like that style of game. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, I like changing pace a little bit, and I think this one did it. A lot of people discuss ways to make it better, but when you speak of how bad defense was, I mean, we went through so many bumpers that year. We were cracking the wood on our bumpers. I mean, our robots just got beat up because you had people like 2056 running into you full speed. And there we can see on the video that's playing 1114 and 2056 entangled, which really put a damper on the rest of this matchup.
Yeah, 2014 was rough from a reffing perspective. It might be my favorite game of all time, but except from the reffing perspective, because what a possession was changed several times throughout the season, as we've mentioned. What they added a high-speed ramming foul on the Thursday of week 4 that they didn't define. It was just like, now high-speed ramming is illegal. Have fun. And it was just nobody knew what was going on. And I think that was week 4. And it was just a hard game to ref because of and like I would watch within Michigan, we called possessions pretty similarly, but then you'd watch like a match from a California regional or a Texas regional, and possessions were called differently everywhere in the world, which was just very frustrating.
So we got a comment from the chat. C. McBride 166 says, "I was an HP human player in 2014, and I feared for my life when that ball was hurtled towards me." Sounds like someone else should have been human player. Somebody who didn't get scared, stood up to that ball. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. It was dangerous though. Another question from Smeezles: how much did the old 2013 control system affect gameplay versus the modern gameplay?
I don't think there was that big of a change between. I mean, I think where the control system change really had an effect was when you went from the IFI control system to the Serio back from 2008 to 2009. But I don't remember it making an impact in 2013. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know how robots work, so I'm the wrong person to ask that question.
I mean, the new systems definitely reboot faster. They still have their problems, but we used to have brownouts and weird inconsistencies with the Serios, and it just made it tough. And when they went down, they stayed down. There was weird chassis shorting issues. It was just, you had to be a lot more on the ball to stay on top of preventing these issues to happen, because they could really beat you up. And I think the system overall is easier to work with now, though there still is a bit of that where some teams understand it at a deeper level and prevent it from really causing them hard problems.
Thank you to all of our co-executive producers, keeping fun loud, live, and independent. Pledge your support. Go to patreon.com/funfrc.